As if we actually needed it. As if we actually needed a PhD research fellow to do a study and put together a graphic showing us that, yes, Twitter is biased against conservatives. This is from Quillette. Take it with a grain of salt. Quillette, I would say Quillette is kind of like a centrist outlet. I'm a huge fan. If you're not familiar, they're typically considered to be like an intellectual dark web related thing, you know, in vain with like Dave Rubin, Jordan Peterson, and all that. So by all means, you know, there's a potential for bias, but they have a criteria for their data, and I think it's important to point that out. But let's look at the story. It isn't your imagination. Twitter treats conservatives more harshly than liberals. And I also want to point out for you know, obvious reasons, yes, other outlets are biased too. I actually trust Quillette a lot more. This is a response to Who Controls the Platform, a multi-part Quillette series authored by social media insiders. Submissions related to the series may be directed to, okay. They say, many conservatives believe that social media companies are biased against their views. This includes Donald Trump, who last year accused Twitter of shadow banning Republicans. They were. That's a fact. The spokeswoman for the RNC was shadow banned from automatic search results. The DNC was not. Twitter said it was an accident. Kind of a whole lot of accidents, right? It's so mafioso. With Twitter going, it'd be a shame if an accident happened and some conservatives got banned repeatedly, majority of the time. It's not even conservatives though, right? The video I made yesterday was about Meghan Murphy. She's a feminist. She's a radical feminist, and she got banned for misgendering someone. Targeted misgendering, they call it. Yeah, you can't call her a conservative. She's a feminist, right? But moving on. So then they have this quote from Jack Dorsey testifying before Congress, which is an outright lie. He says, "Let me be clear about one important and foundational fact. Twitter does not use political ideology to make any decisions, whether related to ranking content on our service or how we enforce our rules, except their rules are literally based on a political ideology. We believe strongly in being impartial, and we strive to enforce our rules impartially." Look, I think it's fair that people say Twitter sucks. It's a hate platform. Like literally, it's a hateful place where people say mean things all the time. Congratulations, yes, welcome to the internet and welcome to the real world. That's a part of life. You know what I do when people send mean tweets at me? It's really simple. I go like this. I close my eyes. I X out the window. I mute them. It's like these people haven't been on the internet before, and you've got these two. It's basically a fringe group of people who have undue influence because they work for media companies, God knows why, and they demand an end to the harassment. Sure, it's really weird how I probably get substantially more people tweeting at me than they do. Like some of these people have like 10,000 followers, okay? Look, I'm not trying to, throw weight around and act like I'm somehow more important or anything, but the point is, I have 200, right now I have like 208,000 Twitter followers. My Twitter mentions, it's permanently locked at 99, non-stop. And there's some periods where I just don't tweet for a few days. I just I don't want to do it, right? Because I know what happens. A wave of threats, hate, insults, and things like that. So it's whatever. But you know what? You know what I do? I don't click it. I don't click that little button. I don't look. It's something like, maybe there's a threshold where once you get to a certain amount of followers, you're just like, yeah, I get it. People are going to say mean things to you. You can't police it. You can't stop it. And I got this window. That jump cut was because I had to close the blinds. The light was coming down my face. But anyway, let's read on. Let's get to the important part. First, a 2018 Pew poll found 72% of Americans believe that social media companies censor views they don't like. Yes, this is factually true. And so roughly 7 in 10 Americans think it is likely that social media platforms censor political viewpoints. 7 in 10, even Democrats, 62% believe that they're censoring. Look, in this study this guy does, okay, let's pull up this guy's name, give him credit. Richard Hanania. He's got this chart here, and what he said was he started looking for people who were banned, and he could only really find prominent individuals being banned after May of 2015. He found 22 cases that were newsworthy, right? People like Milo Yiannopoulos. Of the 22 high-profile cases, 21 of them supported Donald Trump. Coincidence? No, of course not. The only one person who was banned who didn't support Trump was, I believe they say, Alyssa Milano. And she was banned. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was Rose McGowan. Temporarily lost access to her account for posting someone's private phone number. They say this is an unambiguous violation of Twitter's rules, so the platform had little choice in this case. The platform does not seem to have suspended a single prominent Clinton supporter based on the substantive content of his or her expressed views. you actually have people calling for death. Like I can say it a million times. I don't think we need this, but I will say this is it's good data to have, right? This is going in the arsenal of me being like, listen, they're biased. Now, first of all, I am not a conservative. You all know that. The issue is, in my opinion, I think any learned individual understands that the homogenization of ideas, culture, of anything, well, not anything, but in many capacities, homogenization is a bad thing, okay? We need all the different ideas to compete, to be challenged, to go up against each other. And that means, the reality is conservatives have some good ideas and some bad ideas, and liberals have some good ideas and some bad ideas. Admittedly, there are people associated with the far fringe right that have some good ideas. It's nuanced. It's not all completely bad or completely good. There are people on the far left who have some good ideas and some bad ideas. Now, in my opinion, when it comes to the political fringes, I think they're overwhelmingly bad ideas. But you have to recognize sometimes we need to know why it is these people have been pushed aside, right? So you look at people marching around wearing like communist flag shirts or waving Soviet flags, and it's almost like you don't know that the Holodomor happened, right? Like that's not okay. There were terrifying things done, but I think it's important you see these people and you say, you know what, I don't want to associate with them, right? And it's also important to allow them to express themselves so you can go, wow, they are nuts, There are some people who are actively on Twitter who advocate for extreme violence. Straight up, none of them are getting banned. So ultimately, I think if you're committing a crime, if you're advocating for violence, you should probably be removed from the platform. But if you're saying things that are supportive of political, violence or ideologies, I'd like to hear you say it so I know to avoid you. If you're someone who is like overtly racist or you want an ethno state or something, yeah, I'd like to hear you say it so I can be like, that guy is not coming over for Thanksgiving. Right? I don't want to hide these ideas. I want to make sure we know who people are and we know how to, like, who to avoid, right? But let's read on. He says, I found it difficult to establish the extent to which any of the suspended individuals or groups clearly support Republican over Democrats or vice versa. Classifying them along left-right axis is also problematic, as there are some figures that neither side would be eager to claim. Most prominent individuals who are suspended did express a preference in the 2016 election, however, and by restricting our analysis to the subset and counting how many supported Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, we can create a rough measure of whether there is bias, albeit one with a small sample size. Now, I do want to make one point. I do believe this is probably not good data. It's interesting. It shows us a couple things. One, that there are several newsworthy high-profile cases that lean towards supporters of Donald Trump. But I do want to shout out to Megan Murphy. I made a video about her yesterday who's suing Twitter for bias. I think it'd be pretty fair to say she doesn't support Donald Trump. So if he's saying it's just Rose McGowan, well, hold on, right? Megan Murphy was very newsworthy. This was carried, pretty far and wide. And even I believe it was 2 days or a day before this was published, she filed a lawsuit. It was so this story is from, when is this from? This is from yesterday, and it was the 11th that actually no. So maybe it was the day off. I don't know. So maybe he missed it. But Megan Murphy was suspended back in November, right? And she was a verified Twitter user with like 30,000 followers. So she certainly falls in the prominent and newsworthy. And the story of her getting banned went far and wide. So I do think this is not hitting the mark as much as it needs to. But they do some excellent little graphs showing that you're 4 times more likely to be banned as a conservative. But I want to make another point too, because I don't want to run too long on this video. I could talk about this for hours. The point I want to make is if Twitter isn't biased against conservatives, they may be biased against conservatives that are more likely to be associated with conservatives, right? And so therein lies one of the bigger problems. It's easy for Jack Dorsey to say, I am not biased against, people for their political ideology, but they ban hate speech. Well, our conservatives are less likely to believe hate speech is a bannable offense, and they're allowed to be critical or insult people. That would be targeting their specific behavior. Or they're more likely to express their opinions in a fierce and aggressive manner. That would be biased against conservatives. It's almost like what we see in schools, how they're biased against young boys. Sit still, stand up straight, all those things that are easier or are presumed to be easier for girls than it is for boys. Boys want to fidget, they want to, be physically active. And so when these schools create rules that are, favoring one side or the other, it's not that they just don't like boys, it's that certain behaviors associated with the group. So if conservatives are more likely to engage politically, they're more likely to get banned. If liberals are less likely to engage, they're less likely to get banned. Therefore, Twitter's rules, they can say it's not based on politics, but based on behavior. That's not true. But then we can still just say, listen, if misgendering is viewed in two different ways, right? To a conservative, calling a trans woman a woman is misgendering them. To a liberal, calling a trans woman a man is misgendering. Which side is accurately misgendering? You see how this goes? Ben Shapiro is very clear that he will call a trans woman a man. Otherwise, you would be misgendering them, but liberals are inverted. Twitter is on one side of that political debate. So anyway, I don't want to go too long. We'll wrap up here. Suffice it to say, we've got Richard Hanania, PhD, done some research. It's good data, not definitive, but it is what it is. Stick around. I'll have more videos coming up later, and 1 p.m., 4 p.m., 6 p.m. I'll see you then.